Good morning to you all. The board has made a request to Paulina and Yolanda that if and when the fire alarm goes off, the residents should have some spoken communication from the fireman after the alarm, as otherwise residents come out of their units and stand around worrying and wondering whether the danger is past. So we're hoping that this will be put into practice in the near future. In lighted vein, on our recent visit to the fountains, we were pleasantly surprised to find that the associates there address the residents by their first names. However, before doing so, they always establish that it's okay by the residents to do so. The 4 residents we lunched with there enjoy being called by their first names, and they say it makes them feel younger and part of the family. Apparently it happens in quite a few of the Kisco communities, so I'll leave you with that thought. At our last resident council meeting, we told you we were going to the fountains to see how Retirement TV functioned there, and you should have all received our lengthy report which went to everyone's cubby on July 11th. In a nutshell, we're very glad that we went to the fountains, and everyone there could not have been nicer or more helpful. The fountains have had Retirement Home TV for 18 months, and it does appear to be a cheaper alternative to Comcast. However, the residents we lunched with admitted that it had been a difficult adjustment, especially as they'd been quite happy with what they had before, and said it took about 4 months to feel at home with the new system. This was due in part because of the very different remote without voice activation. However, since writing our report, Rick has found out that Retirement Home TV is in the process of making a voice-activated remote, which should be ready by the end of the year. In addition, the residents also commented on the limitations related to recording TV programs, and although the channel lineup had everything the residents wanted, the channel numbers were all different to what they'd been used to. The residents also said that they often experience reception or transmission interference on their TVs in bad weather. In our report, we tried to relate the facts as we saw and heard them. We felt that it was easier for everyone to read and absorb the contents of the report and make further inquiries in accordance with their personal needs or concerns. The board is hoping that there will be an opportunity soon for further discussion between residents and management about the proposed replacement of Comcast, or as soon as more information on the subject is available. A video presentation would be an ideal way to do this so that everyone can better picture some of the changes we might be facing in August 2023. Any questions? Thank you very much. And now we will move on to bar and dining services.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone. The committee met on July 21st, 2022 with Paulina Jacobs, Ryan Vaughn, Chef Selly, and the dining room assistant managers. A new menu format for Waterfront was discussed further. It is proposed to begin the second week of August. Specifics will be discussed by Paulina Jacobs at Town Hall this Thursday. Paulina Jacobs described think I'm too close to your mic. Paulina Jacobs described a proposed plan to create increased seating availability in both dining rooms. Residents failing to show up for dinner reservations continues to be an issue. Food satisfaction is very good, with many delicious meals served at both venues. We gave resident suggestions and comments to the kitchen personnel. The meeting for next month will be August 22nd, 2022. Respectfully submitted, Carol Mostad, Chair. Any questions?
Thank you, Carol. And now we move on to safety and security with Faye Hunsinger. I'm sorry, I take that back. It should be Bill Quinn with Buildings and Grounds. Sorry, Bill.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I'll try that again. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
If anyone can't hear me, raise your hand. If anyone doesn't want to hear me, raise your hand. This is the Building and Grounds Committee report. The July meeting of the Building and Grounds Committee was held on July 11th at 1 p.m. in Majorca. Present at that meeting were David Burton, Heather Little, Jack Southwick, Steve DeConey, and myself. The pressure cleaning is complete outside all the apartments in Seville and Valencia. David has identified the difficult areas that require painting and has completed 2 sections in Seville and will complete Valence and Valencia during the month of August. The upgrade or repair of the walkway lighting that has been discussed since last year was to be done in phases beginning around Palma and going to the waterfront dining area. I'm now told that it's considered a capital expenditure and therefore will be deferred to next year. While the parking lot of Blacktop was sealed in January, some sections needed additional work and could not be completed until they firmed up, which took about 6 months. The balance of that work was to be completed in June. It is now considered a capital expenditure and will therefore be deferred until a future date. Why the funds were not allocated to complete that job, I do not know. David reported that the first section of Valencia's trash rooms have been updated over the weekend. However, I have not seen it at this point, so if anyone living in that area, let me know what you think. A couple of residents have asked me when the repair or replacement of the fire-damaged trellis in Valencia will take place. I have to say, I do not know, even if I don't know if Brad knows at this point, but maybe he has to bring it up at a future date and give us the answer. The health center remodeling was to be completed this year. Although it was approved as a capital expenditure, a significant cost increase required it to be deferred. I do not know where it stands at this point, but Heather, I think, mentioned it in her report that they are now doing it much slower, in a slower area, and will be doing it gradually over the next, if not some of it this year, the balance next year. The landscapers are currently working to get caught up, especially around Valencia and the villas. As well as the landscape along the Gardens Parkway. So you've probably seen them over there the last few days. They're also aware of the need to cut down the coconuts before a hurricane arrives, if it does. Last year, they were not able to get to it until early September. Hopefully this year, they'll do a better job. As far as the work hubs report for the month of June, David and his crew completed 817 work orders. So that's a lot of work that they got done. And there's only about 10 that were in progress, so unless you're one of the unlucky 9, everything else has been done, so there should be no outstanding work orders to be done from last month at this point. Thank you, and there are any questions for building and grounds.
Thank you, Bill. And now we move on to safety and security, Faye Hunsinger.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone. The Safety and Security Committee held its monthly meeting on July 14th, and in attendance was committee member Mary Corey, Yolanda Santiago, Vice President Jack Southwick, and myself. Jack raised a question about a specific security concern he had experienced. Yolanda reiterated that it is very important that residents make a note of the date and time an incident occurs and to report it to the front desk as soon as possible following the event. That way it can be investigated immediately and rectified promptly if needed. Also discussed was the fire alarm system. A resident had suggested that the fire alarm system have a voice component to communicate with residents in an emergency. Yolanda will research this topic with David Burton. Also discussed, to date, there have been 38 signups for the Yellow Dot program. Please keep in mind, if you are still driving, this voluntary program could help to save your life. Please sign up here at the end of today's meeting if you are interested. The safety in your home information sheet will be appearing in your cubbies shortly. Please read it and use it as a good reminder about safety features here at La Posada. Yolanda is following up on various property issues with David Burton. Also, going forward, if you are having difficulty pushing backwards in a dining room chair in the waterfront dining room, please notify the dining room supervisor at that time and show him or her the chair. Continuing discussion of the personal health buttons was postponed until the August meeting. A new topic was discussed. The addition of a mirror, this was a resident suggestion, the addition of a mirror in the upper back corner of each elevator, so that would enable someone about to enter an elevator the vantage point to see if there is already someone on the elevator but out of sight over by the panel. Yolanda will investigate the feasibility of this suggestion. Respectfully submitted, and does anyone have questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Faye. And now we move to welcoming, and Sandy Riley will give us her report.
Good morning, everybody. The Welcoming Committee met on July 12th, and we discussed various topics, among them senior TV, the Yellow Dot program, and we invited Faye Hunsinger, the chair of the Safety and Security Committee, to attend our August meeting to further explain the Yellow Dot program so we can share it with new residents. We have a new folder insert for our folders. There's the mobile healthcare solution. We talked about the meet and greet for new residents that's quarterly, and a suggestion was made that we call residents and invite them to come, the new residents, to come to the meet and greet, and we did that. And we invited people, and we asked Rick to talk it up some, and I think he mentioned it, and also Yolanda did mention it that morning. Brian Vaughn, the director of Dining and Bar Services, came to the meeting to explain the new dining service plan and to answer our questions. And since June, we've had new residents joining us. Linda Levy, 2336, Robert and Shirley Koo, 2301, Frank and Jane Gillette, 3216, Jean Bowers, 3107. And in fact, we have somebody moving in this morning. The committee invites everyone to continue to welcome the new residents, invite them to an event, invite them for lunch. let them know they're welcome here. It makes a difference for people when they're new. And we're glad to have our new residents. I think I have one or two that have come today. Linda Levy, for instance. Linda, will you stand up? Mind? I'd like y'all to meet her. Yeah, she's right here. Thank you, Linda. You want to stand up? Okay. Linda's my new neighbor, so I am glad to have her here. Okay, the committee, this is respectfully submitted. And your any questions?
Thank you, Sandy. And now to the library, Dick Ranke.
Good morning. We had our meeting on the 20th. Carol Fleischman, Paul Root, Helen Rittensbach, Dick Ranke. The July books are up on the shelf, and I asked Rick, who helps us with the purchase of all the books, and also when we remove the books that are old, I asked Rick, where do they go? Good organization. Thank you, Rick. Disabled American Veterans. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. We're going to have a work day to be decided. Our next meeting is going to be on the 17th, the third Wednesday of the month, 11:15 in the library. Prior to the meeting, Walter McCarthy resigned from our committee. We will miss him, and I'd like to acknowledge Walter McCarthy for his help. Thank you, Walter. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Dick. And now we move on to activities and wellness programs with Addie Van Leeuwen.
Good morning, everyone. This is a report for activities and wellness. In attendance, Addie Van Leeuwen, chairperson, Stan Jacobs, Ann Mayberry, Linda Root, Heather Little visited us, and Martha Wolf was on Zoom. The committee report. The report is for the upcoming August 2022 calendar from Rick, who shared the following updates. The committee met in the private dining room on July 20 to go over the August calendar. Holidays and special events. La Posada's 18th anniversary party will be on Friday, August 19. A save the date has already gone out to the copies and a formal invitation will follow. The theme will be called Manhattan Nights, and there will be an after-dinner show with a professional Red Pack and Marilyn Monroe group. We will also hold our third annual spelling bee here at the community in hopes to keep our first place trophy. Residents will pair with associates to compete, and more information and sign-ups will be available soon. Entertainment. Saturday night social with David Mann and dance host on August 6th, and viola and piano concert on August 27th. Trips out include La Mamba, Spanish restaurant, and Indus Indian restaurant for dinners out. Also, Festival Flea Market and Isles Casino combined trip. We will continue to have our Beyonder series of live tours, including Canadian Rockies and Palma de Mallorca in Spain in August. This is at Rio Mallorca in Spain, not across the campus. Zoom lectures from Nova Southeastern University, both live and recorded. Dr. Matt Klaus's author talks, debate series, and a special lecture from resident Dr. Florence Caslow are all being planned. Rick will have more information at the town hall.
Thank you, Addie. Any questions for Addie? And now we move on to the Finance Committee. Jack Southey.
Thanks, Heather. The Finance Committee met with Paulina and Yolanda on Friday, July 15th, to discuss the June financials and the occupancy report as of 7/14. The June financials continue to show an acceptable net income for the first 6 months of the year, as well as continuing control of the budgeted amounts. Management believes that they can continue to control the budget over the next 6 months, provided no additional major unexpected financial situations occur. The committee is working with management by offering suggestions for cost avoidance wherever we see an opportunity. As previously reported, Brad will present the updated CapEx report at the October Residents Council meeting as of September 30, 2022, which is the end of our third quarter. We had 6 move-ins and 3 move-outs in June, resulting in an overall occupancy of 92%, independent living at 90% as of 7/14. Additional move-ins in July will be 4, and there will be no move-outs. Additionally, there are 6 deposits on hand. The continuing shortage of wait staff both in Waterfront and Mallorca still exists, although not as severe as earlier. It still may not be possible to seat 2 to a table or at a particular time, and if you can, offer to be seated with others and make new friends. That's the musical interlude we're having here. Are there any questions on the financial report?
Thank you, Jack. And now we move on to the Health Center report. The committee was unable to hold its usual monthly meeting this month. However, we're having our next meeting on Friday, August 5th. We're fortunate to already have our new Director of Nursing at the Health Center, Shelley McKenna, comfortably settled into her office and responsibilities. Brandon Marks, our Assistant Director of Nursing at the Health Center, has previously worked with Shelley in the past, so we're confident they will make a good team here. Assisted Living is planning to have monthly lunches in La Sala Grande for those residents who normally eat in the dining room at the Health Center. However, the first lunch was last week, but actually took place in the Waterfront dining room and thoroughly enjoyed by everyone present. Lori Merlino likes to keep in touch with the families of those in assisted living and memory care, and last week she held a family night for those families. Ryan Gill has taken members of the choir over to the health center several times recently, and the residents really love these visits, and there is another one tomorrow where they will sing in memory care. About a week ago, memory care had a makeup artist visit the ladies there, and the ladies were thoroughly enjoying being made up, and especially how they looked afterwards. They all looked wonderful. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was brilliant and gave those ladies so much pleasure. As many of you have already seen, we finally have extra planters in front of the stairs outside the health center. Not a perfect solution, but once they have flowers and plants in them, they will make a very attractive looking protection for the residents who like that location so much. As Bill Quinn has already touched on, the anticipated renovations are happening gradually at the health center at the moment. However, there is a chance that if prices don't continue to soar, that they may be able to complete everything they were hoping to do at the health center sometime in the new year. Thank you. Any questions? I would like now to call on Dorothy Weiss, as she has something to say to us from the League of Women Voters.
Good morning. I'd like to amend that a minute. I'm not speaking for the League, I'm speaking as a member of the League, but all the information I have is public information that I got from the newspapers, the supervisor of elections. They're just facts. And it's an update following the original time that we talked about the primary. Everyone knows that the Florida state primary will be held on August 23rd. And many of you who get mail-in ballots have already received them. If you are supposed to get and haven't by the end of this week, that's the time to call the supervisor of elections office, and the telephone numbers are available readily. There will be early voting in person August 8th through the 21st at our county library. That has been the case in the past as well. But there's a new experiment. The supervisor of elections has determined that people need more convenience, and so they're trying out paper ballots that will be produced by a voting machine, and then you will scan that ballot. So there's a couple of new things to happen if you are voting in person early. But the idea is to make it easier. And if the experiment works, then they'll use it in November the 8th. That's one change at the primary. Another change is that you may make a specific appointment, a day and a time, to vote early. And that means you have to do it online at votepalmbeach.gov, but by the end of this week, August 1st is Saturday or Sunday. Anytime after August 1st, you may call online and make an appointment for early voting or in person. We'll all receive a new voter ID card. And that's very important because it's going to be a very important document from now on in the state of Florida. It will really be an ID document. So don't disregard it and put it away like you did the voter ID card that you're supposed to have. It's going to be used. The ballot boxes are now called ballot intake stations. And if you wish to deposit a ballot instead of mailing it, they will be in each supervisor of elections office. And all, they will be available if you vote early in the library. You may use that as an early deposit ballot, but you can only have 1 or 2 ballots. No one can bring more than those, and it will be monitored, so you better be asked for an ID if you have a ballot that you want to give instead of mailing. And don't ignore the referendum. On the ballot, it's asking for authorization to give tax exemptions to new businesses to come into Palm Beach Gardens. And there are 2 thoughts about that. The people who are in favor of it usually are businesses or families who are here all year round and may benefit by a new business coming in with new jobs. So that's a pro vote. On the other side, the history has been that tax exemptions have been given to stimulate certain businesses, such as ostrich farms or the boxes at the Miami baseball stadium, in order to encourage investment in those businesses. But sometimes they either fail, as Ostrich did, and leaving a lot of debt to us, or they have made stupendous profits, as the stadium is doing, and they still are tax exempt. So over time, the state does not go back and review those cases where they have given tax exemptions. It just goes on and on. And when the amount of money that they could have had is pointed out to them, I had an interview with a newly elected representative, and he said, we don't have the money to review, to make an audit. But the money that would have been available if that tax exemption had been reviewed was enormous. Anyway, there's a pro and con on this referendum. The important thing is to vote, decide what you want to do on the primary, and please vote.
Thank you, Dorothy, very much for all that information. Are there any questions for Dorothy? Thank you. And now, George Ridgersback will give us an update from the Flagrant chapter.
Good morning. This is the sleepy season during the legislative processes, but things happen a little bit like a duck crossing the pond. You don't see much on the surface, but underneath he's paddling like a duck. And as is the case after every legislative session, legislation which has passed into law requires clarification. This is done by the agency with oversight for administration of the new or amended law. As reported in the recent quarterly Flagrant publication, The Resident Connection, the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration did just that, regarding changes to minimum staffing standards in nursing homes. So the agency was ACHA, and it's something that affects a community like La Posada. ACHA stressed that staffing must comply with a facility assessment and the resident's care plan, and must ensure that all direct patient care is documented in the resident's medical record. Direct care hours do not include administrative activities. Nursing homes that already meet the 3.6 hours of direct care per day, using RNs, LPNs, or CNAs, are not required to count other disciplines for the purpose of meeting the 3.6 hours of direct care, and thus don't need to report it. Although no standard format for reporting new direct care disciplines, such as therapists, social workers, or mental health services, the documentation guidance should follow that described by the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. As you can see by this example, agencies like ACHA always have clarification and process definition work necessary to provide to those facilities affected by the new amended law the guidelines to be followed. And now for more interesting news. The months of June through September are when legislative proposals that were not passed and new legislation that is desired begins to take shape or seeks agency or legislator support to begin the process all over again. FLICRA will begin planning for its annual meeting in November, and I will keep you informed on the off chance you may want to attend, either in person or virtually via the internet. Another matter, I have distributed an index of information that is a product of online searches and other chapter efforts regarding FLICRA activities. Please contact me if anything in the index is of interest to you. A new addition to the index is an overview of FLICRA, the organization, membership, a description of links and resources to both state, federal, and other sites of interest, and finally, FLICRA leadership in Tallahassee and throughout the state. And so if you have a personal matter where you need advice or counsel, that could be a handy piece of documentation. I brought a few copies with me, and see me if you'd like to get one. Finally, we plan to hold our Chapter 287 annual meeting on November 1st. All residents are invited, whether members of our chapter or not. And for residents not yet a member of our chapter, please come see me and I'll be very happy to provide you with an application. You can join your fellow residents in our attempts to help protect your personal interest and financial investment for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And now I would like to ask Paulina or Yolanda if they have anything they'd like to bring up.
Good morning, everybody. I don't have too much because we have a very busy and packed town hall meeting this Thursday where we're going to give all of you a lot of updates. However, I don't know if you saw my updates letter. There is an increase of positive cases in the community. So just a recommendation, whenever you're in a public place, if you would like to wear your mask, please do so. It's not mandatory, as a recommendation, at least until we pass this wave of positive cases. Thankfully, no residents have gone to the hospital, even though they have been positives. However, you do have to stay in your apartment for 5 days, and I know you don't want to do that. So that's the downside if you test positive. A recommendation, wear your mask if you would like to, at least until we get out of this wave of positive cases. It's just very spread out, very, very easy, this version of COVID. So that's it, and I'll see you Thursday. We have a lot of good things that we're going to share with you.
Thank you, Paulina. Is there any way you can tell us how many residents are currently?
Last week we had 6 residents, 2 private aides and 1 associate.
Thank
And
you.
remember, we're only testing the healthcare associates. We're no longer testing the independent living associates. Only we test them if they have symptoms or they have been exposed to a positive case.
Thank you, Paulina.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the floor? Any new business? Any old business? So I move we adjourn. Oh, Jerry.
It's hard to hear without this.
Keep it very close to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring up the fact that
Closer.
no one was, I see what you mean. I really think that on this television, there should have been more input from the users of the TV, rather than just someone saying, I think we need something new here. And for example, my system was put in, and it's beautiful. I have crystal clear TV. I use the voice recognition almost exclusively. I do not go to listings. I end up watching recorded stuff on YouTube, and therefore I never watch commercials, and I have not had a single problem with my system since it was first put in.
And now, with this new system, I see a lot of confusion, misinterpretation, and loss of service because, you know, I can't travel now. So I depend on the television to put me in Yellowstone or Australia or wherever if I want to see what those countries are like. So I think my suggestion is we let people decide whether they want to keep their system as is or go with the new one.
I'll second that.
I'm coming. Everybody heard what the suggestion was?
Yes, it was great.
You just get closer to you.
Yes, okay. I have several questions about this new system. The first one is, of course, the cost to all of us. I assume they're going to take away our Comcast, and therefore we will be totally reliant on Tisco and their charges for the new system, whatever they may be, and how often they can increase those charges. More important, since they have own all the equipment, I'd like to know if it's possible to opt out without paying for the new system if we have our own cable or our own want to use Wi-Fi as our entry for TV. These questions are really very important to a lot of people. The fact that you have a remote that's not backlit is a problem for people with low vision. The fact that the hearing, that they're just starting now to allow you to talk to the computer is very difficult for people who have little use of their hands. These questions are important, and I think all of us would like to hear a big, more than just other people sort of liked it and sort of didn't like it. So will we have a meeting where all these questions can be explored?
I'm not sure if he was going to address it during town hall. Probably not, because you're going to need a longer meeting. David is going to put a presentation together and hopefully answer all those questions for you. So I think probably that's coming in the next week or so. We will let you know when that meeting is, and then you can really ask all these great questions that you have. I wouldn't recommend to do it on this town hall because we have the quarterly financials and we're going to present to you the dining program, so it might be a little bit too busy, and I know you're going to want to spend a lot of time on this. Yes. So we'll do a separate meeting if that's okay with you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paulina. Any further questions? Thank you, Paulina. We look forward then to a meeting a week after the town hall when we can all bring our questions on the subject.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So I think on that note, we can adjourn our meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Sign up for yellow dogs.